you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of Ready for Happiness Live. My name is Kathy Brandon, your happiness chick. And we have another really exciting guest to introduce you to today. We have the founder and the owner of the wellnessaccomplice.com. And I'm really excited about this guest because, we'll just think of that name, right? Just think of that name. I want somebody who's an accomplice in my health. Her name is Triffany Hammond. Hi, Triffany. How are you?
Hi, I'm so good, Kathy. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I'm really excited about having you on the show. For those of you guys who are just joining us or those who are returning, you know that our purpose on the Ready for Happiness live show is to introduce you to real people who have created a unique way of being happy in this world. And they've done that so well for themselves that they're out there helping other people create happy. And so I'm excited. Triffany is a perfect guest for the show. So let's just roll it back, Triffany. Let's talk about little Triffany, right? Where are you from? Where were you born?
Well, I have quite a unique background, to be perfectly honest. I know. We love telling our stories, don't we? And it's really neat to have this all unfold. But my father was actually a criminal who spent my whole life in and out of jail. And my mom was a single mom, but she had her own addiction issues. And so I was born in San Francisco, and after he was in prison for a fair enough time, she said, we're getting out of here, we're starting over. She was a warrior, right? She had her own goals for what she wanted for her and her daughter. And we moved out to Colorado when I was about 2 years old or so. So I've been in Colorado ever since. And it's an interesting story because if you were to meet me today and not know anything about my past, it takes people aback. It's not typically the story of someone who is functioning and happy and faces every day with glee, but it's the truth of our lives, and that we can't tell on the surface what anybody has ever gone through. And I love being that example of what we can look like when we come through the other side of our hardships. And so that's my little Triffany story.
Love that. Okay, so you're from Colorado. Now you live in Colorado now.
I live in Colorado now. I was from San Francisco. I was born in San Francisco, but Colorado's all I've ever known. So at least in terms of living here.
Right. And Colorado's been through a lot of social changes recently. That's just an interesting environment now.
Yes.
It's all right over there, and it's interesting.
It is.
Wellness, woo! No.
Yay!
Right, yeah. Okay, so right. Okay, so let's talk about what you talk to us about your background. You talk to us about your dad. You talk to us about living in Colorado. There's a big bend in the wellness industry there. It's an environment where people do like to be healthy. For God's sake, the air is relatively clean there.
Yeah.
And so, do you think that lent itself to you being on this mission? And we'll talk about your mission in just a second. But, what contributed to this? Because you're on this huge mission of wellness, not only for yourself, but, you're an accomplice, right? So
right. Yeah.
You're to win it with somebody.
That's right. Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things, there's that, anytime there's a big tragedy, there's that quote from Mr. Rogers that comes out that says his mother told him, every time you see something go, horribly awry, some tragedy, look for the helpers. And my life story, there was a lot of things. There's a lot of things that happen when you have, a dad in prison, a mom with addictions, and the community you grow up in isn't necessarily the healthiest, yet all along the way there were helpers, right? All along the way there were these little people that took these big roles in my life that, lucky for me, I looked at them and I aspired to be like them. I looked at them and said, if they can see past my pain and my hurt, because that always expresses itself as anger, as vitriolic behavior, and if they can look at this little kid and go, you know what, she's not a bad kid, she's got something else going on, and they can touch that inner spark, they helped me come out the other side. Why wouldn't I want to do that? for other people? Why wouldn't I want to look beyond that shadow that we put in front of us as protection and say, I see you. I want to partner with you, right? Like it's almost like I couldn't become anything else, to be honest. My history destined me for this. I didn't have a choice in the matter.
I know, right? I understand that. You know, I'm out here peddling happy, so I get that.
Yeah.
You know, and how weird it is, right, to be in this kind of industry, you know, when, you know, we do have the option of going to work in, you know, a bank.
Right.
And so, okay, so talk to me about that. You know, talk to me about, you know, it's obvious you're smart. It's obvious you had a good upbringing. You had tragedy. You know, everybody has a story. But talk to me about why you hung your hat on wellness. Like, what's up with that? Like, what's your concept?
Yeah, so when I was, I sustained a pretty big brain injury as an infant when I was in the care of my father. Probably shouldn't have lived, and it created a scar tissue on my brain that later showed up as a seizure disorder and epilepsy, and everybody knows epilepsy now. I used to have to be really vague about it because nobody knew what that was, but I had epilepsy as a child and really wasn't supposed to outgrow it, but I did. And that created a fascination with the brain. That created this, like, how does that even happen? The scar tissue didn't go anywhere, and I came to learn the brain actually rewires itself to function in a lot of ways, right?
Right.
So the more I studied this, the more I realized we could do this on purpose. If my brain can do that on accident and stop having seizures, what happens if I start doing this on purpose? What happens if I look at this story that I have? That is, of course, it's true. Nobody's going to be like, yay, I had a criminal as a father. You're like, nobody's going to do that. But what if I looked back and I said, that hardship served a purpose? And we can do this in retrospect, right? We can look back and we say, yes, it was hard, but if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have this, right?
Right.
What occurred to me as I was growing up and as I hit adulthood and I was hit with yet another neurological disorder, meningitis, again, nearly killed me, I came to realize that there's something bigger than just feeling good. There's something of greater import when we get conscious about our wholeness, about who we are, not just physically, not just mentally, not just emotionally, but all of those things wrapped up together, and how one supports the other. And ultimately, we can completely redefine the way that we see life. So as I started going into this and I started looking at what that means, interestingly enough, I was a financial coach first. I helped currency traders. I was a currency trader, and I helped currency traders figure out who they were so that they could figure out how to trade. And the traders that did the best work did their personal work, did their own work inside. Right. So that brought this whole business of failure into my awareness. What happens when we go into something, whether it's currency trading, whether it's truck driving, I don't care what it is. What happens when we go into something with the intent of growing through it? What happens if we do that on purpose? Well, what happens is we're kids again. We're curious about it. We're playful about it. We stop making our failure mean something, right? We stop saying, I'm a horrible person because this didn't work out. I'm a terrible person because, you know, my marriage is, I like to talk about my divorces. The season of our love came to an end, right? That's a perfectly normal and healthy transition in and out of the waves of life that come to us without creating the story that we've been hurt, that we've been betrayed, that we've been wronged, so that there's no shadow anymore for somebody to try to peer through to get to us. We are just us, right? There's no veil to come through anymore. And I thought, if I could do that for people real time, have them embrace even the hardest of conditions, then I could help people not have to unravel the business of their old story, but rather create their whole story on purpose. So I know we're going to talk about it later, but that's the whole premise of the Fail to Win program that I've developed. It's kind of a play on words because we've got to fail to win, but when you start learning about it, FAIL stands for all is love. Because when we really get to the base of it, I don't care if we're talking about physical health, spiritual health, when we get to the base of it, when we treat ourselves the way we want to be treated, the way that we wish We had it in us all the time to treat others. When we start with ourselves, we do that with ourselves first, magic happens. Absolute magic. Pain goes away. Anxiety goes away. The brain heals. Like, all these really cool things happen. And again, I have to come back to that first. How can I not do this work? When that comes into your awareness, how do you not do the work? Right?
I understand. You know, when I looked around the world and I saw that the biggest problem I could see was that, you know, the world didn't have any joy.
Yes.
And then I started rolling it back and I was like, okay, so, you know, and I didn't have any joy at the time either, right? You know, we see the world as we see ourselves. And so, you know, when I started rolling back the curtain, you know, I realized that, you know, if I could form together happy moments, then I could build the joy muscle.
Yes.
And I could achieve that sustainable joy place. And I didn't understand, you know, I thought that you have to have joy to feel happiness. And so I kept being out there looking for joy, right? And that's how we do, right? And so I think it's really powerful. I'm very fascinated by the brain, too. I love the way we can rewire the hardware. I'm amazed by it. Now, okay, so tell me a little bit. Okay, let's talk about it because we've been kind of generic about what you do, and I do that on purpose because I want people to get to know you, right, as a person.
Sure.
But, you know, let's talk about what you do. Give us kind of the old, like, you know, what do you literally do? We know you're in the wellness industry. We know you rewire people's brain activity, right?
Right.
Programs and the way you approach it. But talk to us really about what do you do?
Okay. Well, everything I do brings people back to love. We've already established that.
Right.
I am a certified professional life coach. I have 2 certifications. But beyond my credentials, what I really do is partner. This is the reason why Accomplice is in my name. I really partner with people as they go through that scariest part. You talked about it yourself when you talked about not having joy at the time, which ultimately is a gift, right? Because if you hadn't been in that place, you wouldn't see the need for joy.
Exactly.
So take yourself back to that place. I partner with you then. When you're struggling in that place of transition, when you know you've been the phoenix, now you're the ash, and you're trying to become the phoenix again. That's where I come in those hardest transitions, because we can't be objective observers of our own selves. And then I become that objective observer, and I teach tools and habits. I give homework all the time, things that because it's not about something you learn and you're inspired, but you put it on the shelf, right? That doesn't work. It's got to be integrative. It has to be something that you do with your real life circumstances. It all works in theory, but until you can do it in your real life circumstances, it doesn't hold much. And I make sure that it hits home and it becomes tangible and actionable all the time. So I do that a number of ways. My goal, as is yours, is to get these tools and these ideas into as many people as I can. As many people who are ready, I want them to have access to it. So I have a ton of free stuff on my website, one of which is a free monthly call. That way you've got a month, you know, you come, you learn the tool, you've got a month before the next one, you've got questions in between, totally easy. I've got a membership that offers group coaching, so that I can take that larger expense, chop it up, make it affordable to more people. My most favorite thing I do is the Fail to Win course I touched on. For All is Love. It's an 8-week telecourse, so geography just doesn't matter. It's completely affordable, and it's a really great way to get into a community that's speaking the same language, on a similar journey. You get a tribe, you get a sense of belonging. So I'm not your only accomplice anymore, right? You're like, it's not just me that wants to grow and wants to heal. And I do that, and then the most intimate and the most life-changing is the one-on-one coaching. Again, that's done on the phone too. I do that so I have recordings, I follow up with notes because it's got to be actionable. We do this thing with our brain, right? We go back to our defaults. So a couple days after each session, I send the recording, I send my notes, everything's transparent. That way you're integrating, you keep that momentum going, you're integrating the tools, and before you know it, you know, everything's a gift. Even the most painful, you just go, I know how to use this. I know what to do with this real time. And you can't, I'm not saying I can avoid pain, right? But I am saying with these tools, we can avoid suffering. As you know, we've got to we don't have to. We could go on the way we always do. But our gift in taking on this journey is that we choose to take everything about being human and using it to its highest good for ourselves. Once we do that, we're working in the highest good of everyone around us. It ripples out. It's just, so that's what I do, I guess. I know that's a long answer to a short question. But.
No. Well, it's part of it, right? It's part of us getting to know you, and part of people understanding that you can create this unique way, not only of healing yourself, but you can also create a unique way of giving back to the world.
Yes.
You know, and that's the bigger excitement is, you know, you have all these tools available to you. You know, there's not just one way to get things done in the world. The bigger problem the world's dealing with now is because there are so many options.
Right.
You know, you have to find the option that's right for you. Now, do you find that in the coaching industry, because there are a lot of coaches out there, that it's hard to differentiate yourself? Or do you find that, you know, like for me, I know the right people, just, they come, right? And anytime I've tried to put this mad strategy behind it, you know, I'm a marketing strategist, so I can make it work. But I find that I find it more delightful when I'm just serving and people come in.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I
Yeah.
was just teaching a workshop yesterday for a networking group in my area, and I was speaking. The group was designed to, or the workshop was designed to help introverts, but also to help extroverts understand why they would want to network to introverts, right?
Right.
One of the big takeaways, and people were madly writing notes when I said this, but I think they did so because it speaks truth, right? We know it when we hear it. It's not about what you're selling. It's about who you are. People don't care about what you do. They care about how you show up. I mean, when you're coming forth authentic and whole and completely honest about your foibles, your joys, you know, the whole package, people are just so glad they're not in this alone. There's this huge sigh of relief. They just go, oh, I'm not the only one who gets tired of trying to manhandle my life. That's not just me. Oh, and there's another way. So yeah, I'm totally on board with you. But to answer the question about really separating myself, I don't focus on that a whole lot.
Nice.
For that very reason, that I know if I'm in service, if I'm bringing these tools to as many people that have ears to hear, then the people who feel right around me are going to stay around me. They're going to come to the free call. They're going to move into the group coaching. They're going to take the class. They're going to be on their journey when they're ready to be on their journey. Mm-hmm. They're going to choose their partner. And I actually team up with other life coaches, totally not threatened by working with other life coaches, because everybody has a different style, a different flavor, a different delivery.
Right? And in that exciting part, too, is, you know, I'm a huge catalyst for other people's introductions, just like this show. This is a way to introduce you to my circle, because you can't, you know, and we have big love for the lady who introduced us. You know, I'm so excited about her being in my life and in your life. And Deb, we love you.
Hi, Deb.
But yeah, I really appreciate you being on the show. Now, let's go ahead and recap how they can get you, right? One-on-one, in a group, and, you know, your info products, your books, and some of the self-serve stuff.
Okay, great. One of the easiest ways, I'm on all the social media. You can find me there either. You know, it's Triffany Hammond. On Facebook, I've got the Wellness Accomplise page, but that's one of the fastest, easiest way for people these days, because they're on there anyway. And anything I do on my blog, I post on Facebook anyway, so you're not going to miss anything, right? I really do want people to go to my free resources page, though, because there's a lot of things that are just free right out of the gate. They're PDFs, you know, cancer prevention foods, things like that. But there's also some really great products for just free downloads for signing up for the newsletter. And that's a really great way to keep in touch with me and know what I'm up to, because I teach virtually, I teach live, I teach at Colorado Free University, so that's the best way to kind of keep a finger on the pulse of where I'm at and what I'm up to. The next free call is June 20th, so make sure you're signed up for that. Go to that free resources page, you'll see the sign up. That's on June 20th. July, I have to look at the date again. July 23rd, I'm in the middle of a Fail to Win course now. So July 23rd will be the fresh beginning of the next Fail to Win course. And I'm really excited about what's going on this summer because I've taken that course and all its material and I've put it into a book, which is currently being edited and will be published soon. So I really hope people stay in touch with me and they can pre-buy it through like an Indiegogo or something like that. So I'll be setting up pre-sales for that here pretty quickly too. But yeah, if there's anything you gleaned from this at all, I want to hear about it. I want to hear your story too. You know, this is to you, this is to your audience, this is to whoever has ears, because as we said, even before this started, right, your story is my story. Our story, it's always interwoven, and we give such a gift to one another when we can just bare ourselves a little bit and be absolutely real and authentic with one another, because in that moment, there's a healing. In that moment, there's a trust for humanity, for our journey, for everything having served us, and it helps it all blossom and helps us all grow. So yeah, that's how you can stay in touch with me.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, Triffany, I appreciate you being on the show. We do have to close now. I know there's a lot more that we can talk about.
No, we could go on forever.
I know, right? I mean, I have a lot of questions, so we'll probably bring you back on the show. For those of you guys who just tuned in, this is Triffany Hammond. She is your wellnessaccomplice.com, and this is Kathy Brandon, your happiness chick, and the host of Ready for Happiness Live. We'd like to thank you so much for joining in. Please reach out to Triffany. I'm going to show her beautiful face again. And please reach out to her, connect with her, be a part of her circle, make her a part of your circle. And you know how we always end the show, you guys. Let's go make some happy, y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.